Today, we are mastering the mind-body connection, a new path out of anxiety. My name is Amy Ballantyne. Welcome to Power to the People Pleasers. I'm so excited to have my guest, Shelley, here. Welcome, Shelley.
Thank you so much for having me, Amy.
Oh, this is going to be a great conversation. I know there are many people who can relate to feelings of anxiety, and you've got a lot of really great strategies and ways to support people. Before we get into that juicy goodness, I'm wondering, have you ever been a people pleaser? And if so, how did that show up in your life?
Oh, wow. Yes, I definitely have. The reason I got into working with anxiety is because I had so much of it as a kid and a young adult until I found a way out. And so I think my people pleasing showed up primarily as trying to be perfect, to keep everyone happy all the time. I grew up in kind of a chaotic household. And so I positioned myself to be Switzerland and mediator and the one that the family could be proud of that didn't cause any problems for anyone. And I suffered some because of that for sure. I mean, always editing myself and always pushing myself harder and harder and harder to overachieve because it never felt like it was enough, no
Yeah.
matter what I did.
Yeah, I think that many people can relate to that feeling of never enough. Absolutely. And you had a number of other words that I'm sure people can relate to, having to be perfect, making others happy. The idea of being Switzerland, I've heard that a few times, but um, I'm so glad you're here. And I know we're going to get into a great conversation. Before we dig into all of the meat and potatoes here, I want to share about who you are and what you do so the audience knows how awesome it is to have you here today. You are an anxiety coach or anxiety alchemist. I'm excited to learn about that. Licensed psychotherapist, certified hypnotherapist with 27 years of experience. So incredible. You teach people how to tame anxiety so they can breathe easier, take control of their days without constantly second guessing every single thing, and stop being haunted by that to-do list while they regain their time, energy, and productivity. That sounds awesome. And as I said, the Anxiety Alchemist, showing people how to do a 180 on the way they see and experience anxiety so it works for them instead of against them and actually becomes a superpower. Well, so let's dig into this. I'm curious, you use these beautiful words of you found a way out. Can you begin there?
So for me, it started even when I was a kid. I always say I was my first client, that for whatever reason, I felt like there had to be a way to get control of this anxiety that I felt all the time. And so I started experimenting with different things to try to control it. I had this idea at the time, which was mistaken, that if I had to feel anxious every day, then maybe I could at least change when and how I felt it.
Mm.
So in elementary school, I started checking out all of the scariest books I could find. I
Oh
know.
my gosh, what a
I
strategy.
know. Yeah, it was definitely out there, but a first
Wow.
attempt that if I could do that and be scared then maybe I wouldn't be scared in other places or times in my life.
Oh, wow.
So, like I said, the mistake was assuming that I was going to be anxious forever, that this was
Yeah.
just how I was and I was going to be anxious every day. And so I thought if I could take control, which it worked a little bit.
Okay.
And that's part of what led me to become a therapist eventually.
Mm.
And on my journey through that, I started to hear about these really weird mind body techniques. And I say
Mm-hmm.
weird because they were so far off the beaten path of what I was learning in school and what I was practicing because of my training. And they worked really quickly. They worked really quickly for a variety of different issues. And I wouldn't try them for the longest time. I was seeing a therapist at the time as well. And for about 6 months, she kept saying, I really feel like this would help you. And I kept saying, no, I'm not doing that.
This resistant wall we put up, right? To the
Yeah,
things that can help
super.
us. Oh.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Ah,
And when I finally tried it just to make her stop asking me, I was floored because I felt so much relief and my mind was quiet for the first time in, it felt like forever.
mhm.
I started to make massive changes. I didn't have to be perfect all the time in my mind. I was allowed to rest because you know how we never rest. We're always doing, doing, doing.
Yeah.
And I started to see myself in the world a little differently. I started to have some hope that I could actually get out of anxiety
Wow.
and have a different experience. And so I dove headfirst into learning all of these different techniques and rapid change tools. Hypnotherapy came a little
Mhm.
later, but all the mind body stuff so that I could help myself and my clients.
Wow. Wow. Well, would you agree that the best therapists, the best coaches have their own people helping them peel back the onion on the
Yes,
same?
I personally would never see a therapist who didn't have a therapist.
Yeah, right? No one's got it all together, right?
No, absolutely not.
So can you share a few or one of the main mind body connection tools that you're alluding to?
Well, so I did bring with me today a short class for your listeners
Oh,
so
fun.
that they can experience some of these on their own, but I'd be happy to share with you some here.
Mhm.
One of the things I like, so the first thing I do in my Anxiety 180 program is teach really basic skills that work really quickly. And they help us to reground our body because you have to reground your body before you can reground your mind.
Mm.
And that's something that most of us don't realize. But if anyone's ever said to you, calm down, that's never worked in the history of humanity, I think.
Mhm.
Even though we've all done that, we've all said to someone or heard from someone, just calm down.
Yeah.
And if we could do that, we would.
Yeah.
And so I always start with a basic diaphragm breathing.
Mm.
And if you'd care to try that with me,
Absolutely. Let's do it.
fantastic. Okay, so I'm going to tell you about it and then we're going to do it together. So, and I can explain afterwards the reason why it works. It works for everyone. If you've got a body, this is going to work. It's going to help for sure. It may not do everything, but it's definitely a good first start
Wonderful.
because you can do this anywhere with anyone. So, what we're going to do is we're going to breathe in really deep, stretching out our diaphragm from front to back and side to side as much as is comfortable. And this may be easier if you're not leaning against a chair. For some people, that's a challenge for them. What we're going to do is we're going to breathe in deep like that, stretching out our diaphragm, and then we're going to exhale twice as long, about, I don't count, through a straw. Like,
Okay.
yeah. So let's just do a couple of those. And if you want to take an initial measure of any tension or stress in your body, just so you can see a before and after, that can be helpful.
Okay.
Okay. So we're going to do maybe about 3 of these, I think. So go ahead and inhale deeply and exhale twice as long through a straw. When you're ready, do another. And when you're ready, one more. You have great lung capacity.
Thank you.
How do you feel?
More calm for sure.
Yeah, yeah, it works immediately. And that's one of the reasons it's the very first thing I teach anybody that I'm working with, and no matter what capacity they're in. And because it works almost immediately, so you want to take between 2 and 4 of those breaths. If you're feeling stressed out, overwhelmed, anxious, like your people pleasing is really getting to you,
Mhm.
um, it's actually good for any kind of challenging emotion. And if you start to feel at all lightheaded with it, then just breathe normally. That goes away immediately. The reason this works is because of the vagus nerve, which we have this nerve that wraps, you're probably familiar from the stress or fight or flight center in your brain down through your organs and your diaphragm. And when you stretch it out like that, it forces it to disengage from that stress center. It just physically forces it to do so. And that tells your body that you're not in danger. Because one of the things I felt always as a people pleaser was that I was in danger. I was in danger of making a mistake. I was in danger of, things falling apart on me. I was in danger of being found out as not quite good enough. All of those pieces, I lived in this kind of chronic fear underneath.
Yeah.
Pleasing everyone.
Wow. Wow. Well, thank you for sharing that tool. I understand you mentioned when we first met EMDR. I'm wondering if you can
Mm.
share a little bit about that and what that means and how do we do or what you can share about that today.
Yeah, absolutely. EMDR is a specialized technique. It stands for eye movement desensitization and reprocessing, which is
Okay.
a mouthful.
Mhm.
It's a training that therapists often get, although it's an extra one. I wish I could say that it's something that was taught in grad school. I feel like it should be. It
Mm.
was the first mind body technique that I used with my therapist. And
Wow.
how it works is the original way was to use your eyes. So the eye movement, and it was as though you hold your head straight and look as though you're watching a tennis match with the ball going back and forth. When your eyes cross this way, this way, this way, this way, back and forth, what it does is it helps your brain to rebalance itself,
Oh,
and it
cool.
helps difficult and painful memories or experiences or even behaviors to get filed correctly.
Hmm.
Because essentially what's going on with an unresolved trauma or issue is that it's not filed correctly in your brain. It's filed as something that's ongoing instead of something that's already happened,
Wow.
which you start to relive. And this is one of those things that can really, really eat at us,
Mhm.
because there are major traumas, which we call the capital T traumas. They're things that could make the news, like being the victim of a crime or your house burning or something like that. But there's a whole other class of what we call the lowercase t traumas, which you need to know about the story a little more to understand why it's
Mm.
traumatic.
Right.
So for me, one of those things was in elementary school, I was forced to be in the spelling bee and I don't spell well. And so in
Mm.
front of the entire school, I completely blew it.
Right.
And that really led to me feeling very exposed and overwhelmed when I had to speak in front of people, and really feeling like I was going to get caught out as an
Wow.
imposter.
Wow.
Yeah. So I did a slightly different technique to get over that. But that's an example of some of those things that just eat at us and make us feel
Mhm.
again like I need to be perfect, like I can't make this mistake, that making a mistake means the entire school is going to see me and judge me.
Mm.
And
Wow.
yeah, it's intense, but EMDR works really quickly. I actually use more of a second generation of it called brain spotting,
Oh,
which works
interesting.
on the same principle. But it was discovered by a gentleman who was an EMDR therapist. And like a lot of these things, it was discovered by accident.
Mhm.
So I do that. I do, of course, the hypnotherapy, which brings in the subconscious mind as well as the body and the
Yeah,
mind.
I love that. You also mentioned tapping. Now, I'm very familiar
Mm,
with tapping, and um, I love it. I use it as
yes.
well. I'm curious how how did you come to find tapping, and in what way does it help people pleasers?
Oh my gosh, tapping is amazing. It's actually like the third thing I teach people. I have like an order, which
Okay.
is in the workshop that I'm providing for everyone,
Oh,
for free.
good.
But tapping is amazing. And that's actually how I got over my fear of public speaking
Okay.
after, the elementary school story.
Mhm.
But it was a workshop they were offering, and another one of those things that sounded kind of weird. But by then I was really into checking out weird, and not all of the strange
Yeah.
techniques seem to work well, but so many of them do. And tapping has been proven to decrease cortisol in your body.
Mm.
Yeah. which is a stress hormone, a major stress hormone. It also rewires your brain to be more calm. And the goal of my work and what I've done with myself is to rewire my brain and my body to be more calm, to have a lower baseline, which makes it a lot harder to get up to here into, severe anxiety.
Right. Right.
And when
Oh.
I'm calm, I don't want to people please as much. When I'm calm, I can see that it's okay for me to have boundaries, that it's okay for me not to be perfect, to make mistakes, to own that, and to also not be quite so controlling. Because I think in
Mhm.
my people pleasing, I also became controlling as a way to deal with my anxiety.
Mm. Yeah. Wow. I appreciate that you have tried many of these, the quote unquote weird things. I also, when I'm introducing something like tapping to a client, I give a little bit of a, preface to say this may be outside of what you are used to doing, but I lean into the idea of desire and willingness a lot.
Yeah,
The desire to feel better, to feel less anxious, to feel less stressed, to feel less overwhelmed, the willingness to try new things and have that openness to it actually working.
absolutely. Although the interesting thing I find as well is that if I can get people to just try things,
Mhm.
even those who are skeptical, then usually they feel better. And
Yeah,
tapping is one of those things that actually you don't have to believe in it for it to work. You just have to
well,
try it,
exactly. Exactly.
because we are dealing with your mind and your body. So even if the
Yeah,
mind is saying, "No, I don't think so," the
yeah.
body responds and says, "Oh yeah, no, this is great. I mean, that was absolutely me."
Mm,
I
yeah.
do walk in with a skepticism because I have been down some rabbit holes that didn't pan out.
Mhm. Yeah. So, of all of these techniques, which made the biggest difference for you?
Oh, I think probably on a day-to-day basis, the tapping makes the most difference, the
Mm,
tapping and the breathing. Those are
yeah,
the 2 that I use the most,
yeah,
that I continue to use on a regular basis, several times a week for all kinds of things, because tapping's good for physical or emotional distress.
yeah,
So, which is kind of amazing. I have this story. One time I went to our state fair and I ate too much caramel apple. They make caramel apples with fresh pecans. They're amazing.
yeah,
But I ate too much and I was feeling pretty yucky.
yeah.
And I did some tapping, and by the end of my tapping, I was feeling great. My
Wow,
stomach didn't
okay.
hurt anymore. It's not a substitute, of course, for medical care, but
Of course, yeah.
um, most people don't get medical care when they overeat a caramel apple.
Right.
So, I mean, I was shocked though. I thought, "Oh, I'll give it a try. Why not?"
Yeah,
You
why
know,
not?
what can it
The
hurt?
Yeah, my favorite is the client who says, "Well, Amy, I was tapping while I was driving, so driving is very stressful, and with my mother-in-law." So driving
Oh,
with the mother-in-law was really causing her a lot of stress, and so tapping is her solution to feeling, better in that time, right? So,
yeah.
my son, I taught it to my son, for being a goalie. He was, when he was younger, he was having a lot of stress in one of the years, so I taught him tapping, and that made a difference for him. Uh,
Yes.
it can be very, very valuable. I'm curious about your stance or how you utilize the speaking component of tapping, or do you just use the tapping? Are there scripts that you like to use? Is I guess the question that I have.
Well, I actually do a shortcut version of tapping.
Okay.
Which I found to be just as effective.
Yeah.
So I don't do the setup phrase of, even
Yeah. I
though
don't
I
always do the
feel
setup.
whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, I skip that. And
Yeah.
then I just say some version of, at least in the basic way of using it, there's more advanced and intermediate ways, but,
Hmm.
I'm letting go of, say, this anxiety right now.
Hmm.
Or, and I just say that on all the points and have my clients do that.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
really basic.
Yeah. Like a one
Um,
sentence script instead of it being this thing that might add to the overwhelm.
Exactly, exactly. And sometimes if they can't come up with a phrase, then I have them
Yeah.
just tap, and that
Yes.
works too.
Yeah. That there doesn't need
So,
to be the speaking component some of the time if you're just like,
yeah,
all I can think of right now is how angry I am, and I can't think of any other words. Going through the tapping points can still
exactly.
make a difference. Yeah.
Exactly. I found that to be true. And I have a gal I've worked with, a friend of mine, who doesn't actually have any arms.
Mm.
And she was able to do tapping by just thinking about the different points, you know, on her body. I know, wasn't
That's
that amazing?
amazing.
Isn't that amazing?
Oh,
I know. And
that's
she
the
she gets
mind-body
so much
connection.
out of it. Yeah, which means you can even tap if you're out in public and don't
Yeah.
feel like that's going to be well received.
Yeah. Yeah, oh, I've said that to people before. I was supporting a client around the desire to around food and eating, and so I was suggesting as she was going up to this big buffet table to simply like use the karate chop point as she was just
Hmm.
standing there having a look at what was available, um, to not have so much stress around that moment. And you can do that anywhere.
Yeah, yeah,
People aren't
people
paying
just
attention to us the way we think that they're paying attention to us.
exactly. I always say the same thing. People are busy in
Oh
their
my
own
gosh.
world, and they just even if they look, they just think you're fidgeting.
Yeah, yeah, and then they move on within a second to whatever they've got their mind on and whatever the challenges they're facing in their life.
Exactly. Exactly. If we think about
Yeah.
how much our mind is full of things and how
Mhm.
rarely we're actually really observing, that's why the breathing, you can do the breathing that I showed you earlier when you're even talking to people. If there's a
Mhm.
break in the conversation, nobody notices it.
Yeah,
They really
yeah.
don't.
Yeah, I hear you. Well, this has been really valuable, and I know that you've shared some things that I was not aware of, so I appreciate you very much. And I'm curious, as we leave this idea of mastering the mind body connection, this new path out of anxiety, are there any other things that you'd like to leave the audience with today before we talk about connecting with you?
Yeah, well, I think the most important thing is to understand that no matter how long you have struggled with anxiety, there is a way out.
Mm.
And it's a lot easier and faster if you have the right tools than you might have guessed.
Mhm.
You know, I work a lot with the subconscious mind as well when I get into the deeper work, because a lot of times that has the seeds of where our people pleasing was. You know, it's the messages that we receive early on that make us believe that we have to take care of everyone instead of ourselves, or even set fire to ourselves to keep everyone warm. I can't remember who said that, but
Mm.
I really resonated with that I don't know, what is it, a statement, I guess.
Metaphor.
I can't remember where I saw it, that you don't
Mhm.
have to set fire to yourself to keep others warm. But
Yeah.
that really resonated for me, and that all comes so often from early in our lives when we don't have the ability to analyze it. We just take everything at face value. And so no matter how long you've been struggling with this, you can get out of it. And even if you've tried, you know, quote unquote everything, because I know I certainly did, you know, the therapy, the journaling, the breathing, the million self-help books, the, you
Yeah.
know, this, that, and the other, there are solutions out there.
And part of it is finding the ones that work for you, right?
You bet.
In the in the design that works for you, right?
Yes.
Oh,
No,
yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah. Well,
Absolutely.
I appreciate you very much, and I can tell that you're making a truly incredible impact with the people you are serving. And so you've mentioned a couple of times you've got a free I wrote down free tools. How do you
Mhm.
want to describe it for the
Yeah,
individual? I'll
I
place
know
the
I can.
link.
I'm so excited about it because
Yeah.
it's just a mini class
Good.
that shows you 4 really powerful tools for getting
Wonderful.
out of anxiety, stress, overwhelm. If you're feeling that people pleasing come up, it will reground you and calm you, and all
Mhm.
of them take 2 minutes or less. So one of them is
Yeah.
my shortcut tapping, the breathing we just did. There's also 2 other techniques in it, and it's all it is, but I'm very proud of it because I've gotten so much great feedback that it's been really helpful for people.
Oh, I'm so glad. I'm so glad. So I'll post that link in the show notes for everyone to go grab a copy of as well, and all of your website and all of your social media so individuals can connect with you and learn more.
Fantastic.
Wonderful. Well, I wish you a tremendous rest of your day, and thank you for being here. It was a real pleasure.
Thank you so much for having me. This has been really, really fun. I've really enjoyed
Oh,
it.
I'm so glad. And to all of the listeners of the podcast, I'm so honored and grateful that you've tuned in yet again and reminding you to grab a copy of Celebrate Yourself if you haven't yet, the new book released in May. And please stay tuned to the next episode of Power to the People Pleasers coming soon. Have an awesome day.